Hello and welcome to the Deep Talk Podcast, a podcast and community dedicated to learning, growing, and connecting more deeply with ourselves and one another. I'm Madison Brandt, your host. Let's get started with this week's Deep Talk. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Talk Podcast. As always, so happy to have you all here. Today we're talking about feeling behind in life. And whether that is in your love life or that is in your career or hobbies and passions and purpose or finances or whatever it is, I'm sure you're coming to this episode with something that you feel behind in. And I think a lot of times we feel behind because we are comparing, right? We're comparing to our friends that we've grown up with or our new friends, or we're comparing to our peers, our coworkers, or comparing to people we know from high school or that we see on social media. And it's all in comparison, right? That's a huge thing. But I know that it's a hard experience, and it's one that I've experienced in many different ways, hence why I'm talking about it today, because I know it. I know it more than many people, and I get it. And I know that it can feel like the world is weighing on your shoulders, and I want to talk about it all today to validate you, but even more so to kind of debunk some of these thought processes around it. Because I think the typical advice of just being like, be on your own path, it's okay. It's like you can hear that, but you still feel bad about your path. And it's like, I kind of want to dive into some more nuanced things about this so that we can actually shift how we are feeling about it, or at least like start to shift. And I just want to talk about it too, because I think it's nice to have a place where someone's actually putting words to this, of like the fact of like, I feel behind because all my friends are getting engaged and I'm single, or I feel behind because all my friends are making $200,000 and I am pursuing a different career and making nothing, or I feel behind because my friends got a house or my friend got this cool career. Like whatever it is, like nobody wants to talk about the fact that they're jealous or that they feel like bad about themselves or they feel like behind or they feel late or like a loser. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about it because it's a human feeling and it feels crappy and it's not fun to feel insecure or jealous or all these emotions that we make dirty. So let's dive in and let's talk all about being behind and being in a different stage as other people maybe around you, and how to start feeling more confident in yourself and your life and your path. First things first, what does it mean to be behind, right? I'm still asking that question, but I think that it's behind in comparison. And like I said, like truly, if we didn't have comparison and we didn't have social media and we didn't have all these things, like there would be no behind. If we didn't have societal expectations, we wouldn't be behind. I think there are things that we can put on ourselves around feeling behind based on our own goals, like our own self-infliction of our own goals and then feeling behind based on that. But I think a lot of the reasons we feel behind are based on societal expectations. And so let's talk about both. Let's first get into societal expectations and feeling behind there. I think that there is a very limited map of success societally, and it's like finding a person, getting engaged, getting married, and having kids and having a house. And all of those kind of have time markers, right? Like I think that people these days understand that like it's a little bit later, but people still are like, where's your boyfriend at like 22? And then they're like, are you going to get engaged at 25? Are you going to get a house at 28? Oh, you're 30. Are you going to have kids soon? Oh my gosh, are you? Like, what are you doing? Like, it's just, there's these maps. And there are people that hit them and there are people that subscribe to them. And those people perpetuate the beliefs. And even people like everyone, I think, has it so ingrained in them from society that it's really hard to untangle from. Like even me sometimes have had moments where I'm looking at people who are in their 30s and I'm like, why don't you have someone? And then I'm like, whoa. We need to decondition that, because that could very well be me. And also, not every path is the same. And that's my societal conditioning. Oh my gosh. And that's not what we want, to put other people in boxes. And so I've been really working on detangling from conditioning myself and accepting that things might happen in my 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and giving myself more permission to untangle from that, getting off social media more and trying to get out of comparison more, because it really does like leak into our thought processes about ourselves and feeling behind. I think another big societal one is like the whole career climbing thing, like 9 to 5, growing in your career, making more money. And if you are someone who took an unconventional path, or maybe you're in the same path as someone else, but you're earlier on, or you're not getting to where they are as fast, or making as much money as fast, or being as successful as fast, you might feel like, oh my gosh, like I feel bad about myself. Now I'm behind because I'm not making as much money, or I'm not moving as fast, or I'm not as successful. And I think that's another societal one, right? And you might have your own personal ones. Like, let's say you really want to build a business. That's not necessarily a societal thing that expects that expectation of everyone. But then you see somebody else doing it and you're like, I'm behind. I'm behind in my own business. So whatever it is, I want you to know that that is welcome here, and to like bring it in as we talk about all these things. So anyway, I think that the hardest thing about especially the timelines around societal timelines are that they keep moving, and they're very like narrow. It's like if you don't find your person and get engaged by this time, it's like you've missed the mark. And people are like, what's going on with you? And it's like you have to meet these different ages of each thing. And let's say you do make the engaged mark by a certain time, mid, late 20s. Then people are asking you when you're having kids. And it's like, it keeps moving. You can never meet the mark because people keep wanting the next thing from you. And so that's like what has made me really think lately is of like, if the mark keeps moving, then I need to ground into who I am, because how can I ever meet all these things? Because I sure as hell might meet one, but I'm not meeting all of those. There's no way I'm going to fit in societally in every single area of career, of engagement, getting a house, married, all the things. Like it's just so much. And again, there are people that do, and that's great for them if they want that, if they subscribe to that. Yeah. And I'm sure some of you do subscribe to it and do want to subscribe to it, but your life isn't looking that way. And I'm sure a majority of you too are like, I don't want that. And I want to accept my own unique path, or I want to be okay with the fact that I'm not a traditional societal person and I want other things. Whether you fall in the camp of I want to fit in like that or I don't, I think underlying for everyone on some level wants to be accepted, because we're humans and we're all interconnected. And I think it ties back to the early days of like tribes and being like, I don't want to be left behind. So it's very innate that we're like, oh no, everyone's getting engaged and I'm going to be left behind. What am I going to do? Or like, oh no, everyone's making more money than me. I'm going to feel like a loser. Like no one wants to feel not part of it. And I think that's so human, and I want to recognize that. But something else I've realized that's very human that I've been really noticing is that life comes in so many stages. We're young and we miss the mark of getting engaged, and all of a sudden we have a new group of people in our late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s who are single with us. And we're like, oh, it's not as scary as I thought. Or like, we don't make the mark of getting a house or having kids, and everyone's doing that, but we have a group of friends that are in our same stage. And I just think you keep finding those people. I think life comes in so many stages and we meet them when we get there. And it looks so scary from the outside, being like, well, what am I going to do at 38 if I'm single, or if I, am still working this job that I am now? It's like, well, you'll meet people in that stage too. We find what we are and where we are. And so the first thing I want to remind you is that you're never going to be alone where you are. You might have friends that you've grown up with, or people in your current stage that end up doing things quicker or faster, or quote unquote pass you by, but you will find people in every stage of your life that are at where you're at. Okay? So I feel like that's something to notice, and I found that so much. And so I want to talk a little bit about like ways I felt behind. I think that I felt behind a lot compared to like my high school friends. Like I have two really close friends that have grown up with me, and sometimes I feel behind in comparison to them. Or my friends from other friends from growing up, or friends that I have even recently met in the last few years. There are some that I definitely feel behind. And I think it's because we want to grow with people, right? Like my two closest friends from growing up are like in very serious relationships and will probably get engaged in the next year or two. And I'm nowhere near that. And I have compared myself so much to them, and felt really like, oh my gosh, are they going to be having kids and I'm still like living alone? Like I really future stress about that because I really want to grow with them, and I want us to all have partners at the same time, and I want us all to have kids at the same time so we can like have that life together. And it scares me a lot, and it's stressful because there's like a lack of control around finding that person for you. And when other people for me have like figured that out and then some for like years, I'm like, I'm so behind. And it's been honestly this year, it's been one of the hardest things. I started off like feeling so triggered about it to a point where like I really had to avoid a lot of my friends with relationships because it was something I really wanted. And I felt like I was going on so many dates and trying so hard, and it just like wasn't working. And I was watching so many people slip into things in an easier way, or, you know, find the thing. And I was like, oh, like, why is it not happening for me though? And so I had to really distance myself from some of my, like, not my friendships, but like from talking about that with them or like going to things with their partners, because it was so upsetting to me to be around it. It would like poke at me so much, like so triggered, so feeling bad about myself. And I think some of my friendship relationships this year have been hard because I've had to almost like be at a little bit of distance because it's been hard. There's been many times where I just am like feeling really bad about myself. I'm going to different bridal showers and things for people, and I'm like, well, am I the only single person here? And it just like feels bad. And especially it's hard when you're someone who knows you want to be in love and like has so much love within you and has tried really hard to find somebody, but just hasn't found that click and that person who meets you where you want to be met. And yeah, it's been a really hard year around that. But things have started to shift for me, and we're going to talk more about that. I think I'll come back to this of like what's helped me shift after I share a few more things about ways I felt behind. In my business, I feel like that a lot. This is a personal one, not a societal, but I compare myself a lot to people who like are blowing up way faster than me. And I've been doing this for like 7 years, and I put so much into it, and I'm watching people like gain so many followers and so many things really quickly. And I'm like, oh, damn, like, what am I doing wrong? And I felt behind in that sense a lot too. I also think that I feel behind in some sense career-wise. I'm just taking a different path. So it's not that I feel behind. I just feel like sometimes I'm not in the mix with other people as much as that. So it's not that it's not that I feel behind, but sometimes I just feel like I'm not I'm behind in the societal sense. Like I'm behind, like I'm not doing those things. So like it's incomparable, but sometimes I still feel behind anyway, if that makes sense. But back to the relationship thing, because that has been the hardest thing for me this year. I again started out feeling so triggered and would really avoid a lot of things because it would just poke at the loneliness I felt. I would get a lot of like loneliness pangs all the time by myself and just like sadness about it. And when I was around people who were not in the position I was in, and it was hard to sometimes hear about it. And so I really felt like a lot of the year was just struggling a lot with that until I kind of moved into a new space within where I decided that my life was mine. And I was going to have to untangle from societal expectations if I wanted to be happy. Like I was going to have to decide to be on my own path and know that were things that I wanted, but that I had to open up to understanding that they were going to happen on their own time and not my time and the universe's time. And I had to find a way forward with that. And so I ended up really just diving in this year to developing myself. I worked really hard on my podcast. I started a side business doing makeup artistry on the weekends. If you know me, that was my dream growing up, and it came back and it's been amazing. So I'm creating another business there. I'm starting yoga teaching, a lot of things. I've just done so much. Like I've read a lot. I've done a lot of therapy. I've healed a lot. I've picked up a lot of hobbies. I've met a lot of friendships, like deep community. And I've really built myself in so many ways. And so doing that, I realized that I was building so many things that were so valuable. And I got to this point where I was like, wow, like these are things I've worked so hard for and cherished. And a lot of the things that we societally compare to aren't things that people are necessarily achieving. They're great, but it's like, love isn't something that you earn. It's not something that makes you more interesting. It makes you maybe more fulfilled, but it doesn't make you more interesting. It's not like a goal people just like get, right? And that helped me kind of be like, that is something that will just come in my life the way it did with those people, right? Like it's a blessing. But I was comparing my life to people who had something that I wanted, but it's not, it sounds so bad, but I was like, they weren't like achieving anything that I was comparing myself to, right? Oftentimes with that. And so I learned that like with this time, I had been creating and building things in my life and things within myself that other people weren't doing in the same way with the time that I had. Right? When you have time alone, you build so many things that are yours and that other people don't have. When you are not doing what other people are doing, the career they're doing, you're building your own. And so when we feel behind in life in comparison to people in a few things, we neglect the fact and negate the idea that we actually are building a lot too that might be different, but might matter just as much, if not more. And maybe they're not on the societal timelines, but that doesn't mean that they're not as important. And so when I was thinking about that, I was like, wow, like even if I wasn't building all these things, I still am in a different lifestyle than these people and creating amazing things on my own, right? I'm having this time, this different experience than that. And I'm growing in ways that are not that, but are in my own way. And I realized that I was not behind. I was just growing next to people in different ways. And so I realized that was okay. I stopped saying I was stuck and everyone was ahead of me based on a few factors, but that we were moving side by side, or even apart, but we're still moving on the same path forward with forward momentum, just in different ways. And so while they were getting in relationships, I was growing internally. And while they were working on their careers, I was, working on my business. And while they were meeting somebody's family and building their own family, I was diving into deep friend community. And it's different, but there's no behind. And so I really started embracing the fact that I actually am on the same kind of forward momentum path, just not in the exact same avenue. And I would have those things, and those things matter, but those things don't take away from what I'm doing now and how important and beautiful it is. And so when I started finding like a deep gratitude of what my path had and stopped calling it behind, but just a different avenue, it started to really show me how much it mattered and how much I mattered and how I wasn't behind. Life sometimes doesn't give us what we want, so it can give us everything we need. And we so badly want a partner or the career or the thing. And Instead, we get time to learn how to accept ourselves and how to build a life that's maybe not exactly what we thought, but it's what we need, and to work on our hobbies and to build our own selves and our careers. And so when you find yourself in a place that's not where you thought you'd be or isn't societally accepted and you feel behind, you're actually in a place of like creation. And there's something to be made out of you in this. And so what I found in this time are internal skills and an internal world that I never knew I needed. But I had to lean in and open up to the fact that my life still mattered because it did. And because I decided to move forward with what I had. And I still do that. And if I kept feeling like I was behind and just stuck, then I would sit there and watch everyone live their lives. But if I was going to decide to make something of this and myself with what I had, then I'm not staring and standing and watching. I'm moving too. And, you know, a lot of people clap for societal things, right? It's hard because if you're running a marathon and your friend is, you know, climbing the corporate ladder, or you're, you know, working on a business and again, they're climbing the corporate ladder, or you're making so many friends and other people are finding their person and getting engaged, like, or buying their first home, it's like those things might be clapped for more. It's actually so interesting that getting engaged gets more claps than sometimes somebody writing a book. But it's because people live a lot of times in boxes and people know to clap for those things. And so you have to find a way to clap for yourself and to find people around you that are in a similar stage as you or know how to clap for you too, or to ask them to. Because sometimes people need to know that, hey, I'm not where you're at, but when we gather as a friend group, when you guys are talking about your houses or your kids, like, I want to talk about the shit I'm building, and I want people to know that that matters. But first, you have to believe it matters. And so what that looks like is building a life you love and telling yourself it's okay to love it, even if it's different. And it's okay to want something you don't have. I'm not saying that it's not okay. Like, it's okay to want something. It's okay to have a desire. It's okay for it to feel fucking hard sometimes that you don't have it. You wouldn't even believe how many times this year I've gone on a bad day and come home, sat on this couch and cried and just wrapped my blanket over myself and just put on a show. I was like, I'm going to bed. Or how many times where I would compare myself to other people with what they're doing in their career and been like, I just like want to fit in, and it's not happening. And so this year was a whole internal switch of self-compassion and finding a way to look at life a little bit less traditionally, or a little bit less with expectation lasers on it, and starting to embrace it and love it and build it for what it is and where it's going. And that has helped me so much, and widening my capacity of what I am okay with accepting, in the sense of like, I used to think I need to get engaged at 25. It's like, well, maybe that's by 35. Okay. Giving myself more space. If I need to create my business by a certain time, it puts pressure. But if I give myself space to become and develop, it gives me less pressure on myself. The world's already putting so much on us that we need to give ourselves our own compassion too. Okay. So I just think the main thing that's going to help you and has helped me is building a life that you love regardless. And you've heard that, but like, have you done it? And have you done it in a way where you're actually like telling yourself it's okay? It's okay if everyone's doing one thing and you're doing another. Can you actually accept yourself? Have you tried? If I was sitting here expecting myself to be somewhere that I'm not, and comparing to my friends who are getting engaged and married and doing different things than me, I would feel like shit about myself. And that's how I was sitting for a long time. And it became up to me to do an internal reset of like, wait, what are these societal terms I'm living by? Who said this? What can my enoughness look like anyway? What can it look like? What can I build? What can I find here? And so that comes to self-acceptance and self-compassion. And these are practices that have changed my life. You've heard about self-compassion. You've heard about it. But a lot of us aren't actually doing it, because how many times a day are you telling yourself that you're behind, or that you're not good enough, or you have so far to go, or that you're a loser? How much are you telling yourself words that feel so hard to hear? And how much time do you spend being there for yourself or lifting yourself up? And sometimes lifting yourself up feels like a reach when you feel low. But how much are you meeting yourself in compassion? We want to be hard on ourselves because I think a part of us thinks it's going to like push us to what we want, but you can't hate yourself into getting things you want, and you definitely can't hate yourself into loving yourself. And so I talked about this in my last episode, but I'm reading this book called Why We Meditate. And there's this piece about self-compassion that talks about how we never let the feelings inside live because we're so busy pushing them away. There's this voice inside of you saying, I feel behind. AKA, I just don't feel good enough. And you're saying, come on, work harder. You suck. You're a loser. That part starts working hard in a very shameful way. You're talking to like this inner kid within you, and you're being mean. It's trying, and you're being mean to it. And it never heals and never feels better because you've never been kind to it. You, instead of listen to how it feels and be there for it, you push it harder. You're mean to it. And so what would it look like the next time you feel really behind, quote unquote? You sit there for a moment. You take a pause and you go, what's going on? And that little part of you might say, hey, I'm feeling kind of not good enough. And I really am scared. And you go, well, what are you scared of? And it goes, I'm really scared to be alone. This is the first time you've actually let it talk to you instead of running from it or being mean to it or ignoring it. And when you let it be, all of a sudden you might notice this is the first time you can actually just listen and be there with it and not try to change it and not try to fix it or push it, but just listen. And you'll notice that when you start listening and letting it be, the feelings start feeling comfortable talking to you. Sometimes the emotions just need to be, and sometimes they need you to tell them it's okay to just be. Sometimes they need that reminder, right? Sometimes they pass, and sometimes you have to handshake them and say, I see you and it's okay. You can live here with me. When was the last time you did that? It's like if something is crying and you're mean to it and it has to stop its tears, it's just holding a well of tears, like a little kid, right? But if you let it cry, it might come up a few times. It might need to cry, and cry out everything it's stored because you've pushed it away. But then once you let it be and you say, it's okay that you're here. It's okay that it's here. I'm meeting you. I'm not trying to change you. I'm not trying to fix you. Eventually the tears will all come out and you'll have something that is processed and a part of you that feels better and a part of you that feels more healed. And it's all through self-compassion and being like a mother to your own emotions. I, in these moments, have been really trying when I want to be mean to myself, like taking a pause on them if I'm in a busy place and coming back to it later and just sitting down with them. Or if I'm alone, sitting down with them for a few moments, or just putting a hand on my heart and just letting them be. It's a practice you can do everywhere, like letting them be. And it feels so counterintuitive because you're like, oh, that's not going to fix it. But it's like, you're not here to fix. It's not for fixing. You can't, that's not what we're doing. We're not fixing. They're not supposed to be fixed. They're actually just supposed to be felt. And I think that we think that we're supposed to fix our lives, and that's not how life works. Life needs to be felt. And so learning, I can feel the hard things, and that's okay. It can just be hard sometimes. It can just be hard sometimes to feel those feelings. But we don't let ourselves feel them, and instead we are mean to them. We push them down. We try to fix them. We try to work really hard. We try to control our lives, and nothing changes, and we still feel frustrated. And I think when I told myself it can just feel hard sometimes, and I can live with that, it can just be hard for me sometimes, everything changed. When I was out in the world and felt a really hard emotion, I could just be like, yeah, it's okay. When I felt like everyone was doing things that I wanted and it just wasn't happening for me, I'd go, yeah, that feels hard. It feels hard. And having a life I love and accept has made that easier for sure. But there's still so many moments where I'm out with friends and I feel like I'm behind. And that's when I just let it be hard sometimes. In my body, when I'm with these people, I just say, yeah, it's okay. Let it be. Because it's when you try to be with people and fake that you're fine or push it away. You don't have to talk about it, but when you do like that whole, oh, no, it's fine, and like you're pushing it away, just be with people and let it be in your body. And when you go home, give it a hug, sit with it, let it feel. You'll be amazed by how much moves through your body when you don't try to fix it. You'll have a hard moment. The next day you'll wake up and have a good day. And like an ocean, like a wave, it's past. It moves through you. And I just make space for these hard emotions all the time. When I'm, at work and I feel like I'm behind and I'm not as smart as the people around me, I just let myself have a moment of feeling that way. And the next day I'm back to normal. Maybe I take an action step of learning a new thing, but not from a place of running from a feeling. When I feel behind at, when I teach yoga and it's like, oh my gosh, these people are better than me, and I feel like I'm never going to be as good as them, I just let myself feel that. And I just keep learning and keep moving forward anyway. And I let those waves crash and they let them move through me, and I keep going. There's permission to just let it be hard sometimes and to let it hurt sometimes. I think that we don't do that enough, and it makes the whole thing way harder. You can just let it be hard. I said that so many times. The last little skill I like to do is when I'm letting emotions be there and I'm just letting them exist, sometimes I'll offer them what they need to hear. And so when I ask them, what are you afraid of? And they say being left behind, I tell them, you're doing great. And you'll never be left behind because I'm never going to leave you. And I'm proud of everywhere you've been. And you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And it feels so good. Offering yourself these self-compassionate statements feels literally so good. And I do it all the time. I tell myself 100 times a day it's okay to be where I'm at. I tell myself 100 times a day statements of healing and love. And that's really what my recent journey has been about, is been really being kind to my feelings, letting them be. And when you stop trying to fix yourself and your emotions, your life just keeps playing out so much more beautifully because you're accepting the human part. Of course you want something you don't have. Of course it hurts when other people have something you don't. Of course it hurts when somebody's more far along on some journey you want to be. It hurts. Yeah, of course. So let that hurt sometimes and be there for yourself. I think that on this journey, I've really, really learned that we all just are here for such different reasons. And some of us are here to, fit societal timelines. And some of us get that, and those people don't get gifts that we get, right? It's all so different. And so I just think the more we can just start really realizing that we are here on our own path and these people are lovely in our life, but they are supporting characters to our main character story. And just to keep owning our story and normalizing our story, it just helps so much. Other people have nothing to do with your path. Like, yes, we're all interconnected, but like every single person is on such an individual path. And when you can start like taking it from that place, when you talk to your grandma or somebody else about why you're single or why you're still in the same job role or whatever it is, you can just be like, yeah, you start to embrace it more and stop feeling like you have to explain it, or you don't have to feel bad about it for other people because you don't feel bad about it within. Like if someone were to be like, oh, you're not engaged, you'd be like, nope, I don't need, in your head, you're like, I don't need to live on your timeline. Like, what? Like, you start to be even more and more within your path. And so that's huge. Another thing I want to remind you of, and something that I've really thought about too, is that I think on the path to finding the things you want, it can be tempting to settle because you want to get there as fast as other people so you don't feel left out. But I can promise you that if you settle in relationships, jobs, whatever, and you don't take the longer path or the harder path and make shortcuts, you're going to get cheap wins. And cheap wins will maybe make you feel good or accepted for 2 seconds until you realize your life is not about anyone else. It's about you and how you feel inside. And if you're feeling bad about your life, it's not worth any acceptance on the outside. There are so many things I've tried to do to get acceptance from the outside, and it's so cheap. It's so cheap. It's like eating a cupcake and like the sugar feels good for 2 seconds and then later you're like, stomach hurts or whatever. It's a cheap win and it doesn't carry meaning and weight, and it's not what we're here for. And so if you find yourself in times wanting to just settle and be like, well, I'm just going to find my person and I'm just going to make it work. Or I'm just going to do this job, or I'm just going to do this so I can get the money or I can get the thing. It's like you're bypassing so much joy and happiness, and you're bypassing so many learnings. And you have to remember your life just isn't just about getting the thing. It's about who you become along the way. And if you just do these things so you fit in, it's like you're going to be miserable. Your body will tell you within like 10 minutes, and you never let yourself learn what you were supposed to. Most of who I've become has been built from the time where I didn't have what I wanted, and I had to actually learn a lesson that I didn't know that I needed. When I was single, I learned how to really love myself and treat myself kindly and raise my standards and build a great life and go to therapy. If I had just hopped into any old relationship, I would be not the person to carry it. It wouldn't work. If I would have just, I don't know, bought a bunch of followers on social media to look like I have that, it would be like, oh, that looks cool, but I'm not where I actually want to be. Taking the slow route, the windy route, the route that's filled more obstacles can sometimes feel like it's a waste of time, but it's actually your life. In life, we get a few big things, right? The engagement, the marriage, the kids, the wedding, the job, the book we wrote. We get a few of those big moments, and we live for them like they are what defines us. We only get a few big moments. Our life is made of small moments. And so those are beautiful moments, but they're about 0.1% of our life. So if you keep living for the thing to make you happier enough, you'll find that you're only happy for 0.1% of your life. What are you doing in the in-betweens? Who are you becoming? What are you learning despite the thing that you don't have? The big thing, the accomplishment, the checklist, the thing that looks good on the outside. What are you becoming? Because I don't think your future self would look at you right now, sitting and waiting and being mean to yourself and feeling behind, and be excited about that. I think they'd be like, let's go. Let's make something of this. You have something to be. And I think we have to take our ego out of it, because there's shame around not fitting in. And it's like, I think we need to tell the ego it's okay to not. And tell the part within below that, the part that's scared, that we are never going to put it in we're never going to leave it. We're always going to try to make sure it has the best life possible. We're always going to do our best with what we have, even if it's not that thing. And we're going to love it no matter what. I think that our egos really just want to like look cool and fit in. And it's like, we have to tell them that that's not what it's about, that it's okay to not. It's okay. What if it's okay to look like a loser? What if it's okay to drop the ego and just build a life anyway that's beautiful? Like, we're not serving these cheap, fake, quick things. We're serving a deeper meaning in your life. So what the fuck is that for you? You know, the more you tell yourself behind, the more you're going to feel bad about yourself. And the more you feel bad about yourself, the more you're going to try to fix yourself. And the more you try to fix yourself, the more you're going to settle. And the more you're going to settle, the more you're going to have a life of misery. So if you weren't behind, what would you do with your life? What would you do? Who would you be? What would you spend your time doing? If you had all the time in the world, what would you do? If you were on an island and it was just you, you would never feel behind. So what would you do with your life? Would you date and like have more situationships and fun? Would you travel the world? Would you start a business? Would you create? What would you do? And then do that. Let your ego take a step back and realize you don't need to look cool for your grandma or for your friends or for anyone. They can hold the discomfort that they feel and that they decide to want to carry about whatever societal expectations they hold. And most people aren't really thinking about us, but if people have judgment, that's theirs. All you need to do is to build a life that you're proud of and be okay with that. And that's your life. And that's what your life is about. And so any judgment people wants to hold, like, give it back to them. Let your ego drop and build a life you love and be proud of it. And when you start owning it, other people will too, right? So I just hope you guys can give yourself as much love as possible and just to let yourself shine. And it might not be in the exact ways you thought, but watch your life become better than you ever knew it could be, and everything fall into place when it's supposed to, because you stop trying to force and push and be mean to yourself, and you led with love and letting the world and the universe show you what was meant for you. And one day when you get the thing that you want, or you get a different version of it and realize, and then you look back, you'll probably realize like, I wish I would have spent that time less mean to myself. I wish I would have spent it less stressed and forcing things. I wish I would have been more present. And you'll realize that the big thing is great, but everything you did and everything you learned along the way held a lot of greatness too. So with that, I'm going to close out here in just a moment, but a reminder to give yourself love. I know it's hard, and I still have hard moments. Like, I'm not above that. Like, I feel like I'm in a really good place. I feel really good in my life. Am I where I want to be all the time? No. Do I feel behind sometimes? I guess. But I've started to change the language of behind to just my own path. And as long as I feel proud of that, I feel proud of me. And I think creating a great relationship with yourself, and like, that's like the best thing, because at the end of the day, we are born, I guess, alone. Like, we're in our own bodies and we die alone. And so it's like, okay, you're the only person you need to impress. So ask yourself, like, do you have a good relationship with yourself in your life? Because if we keep trying to get things so that we do, that's an external way to love ourselves. You have to love yourself and your life because you love yourself and your life, not because you got something that gave you permission to. Anyway, I'm just rambling at this point, but give yourself love. Always do the best you can. And then from there, just let the universe take it. Keep building, keep dreaming, keep doing, keep enjoying the small things. And just know that there's so much you're going to look back on and be so grateful for that you didn't get things the way you thought and when you wanted them, that you're so much greater than those things. They don't define you, and that like I bet you're going to get the thing and be like, oh my gosh, this didn't save me like I thought it would. And thank God I had the time between to save myself and be nice to myself, because that was what I wanted all along. Be kind to yourself, and remember, you're not behind, and you couldn't be, because how could you be? Because this is your life. Go live it. I love you guys. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week, right? And in the meantime, go build a life you love and be really freaking nice to yourself, because you deserve it. Okay. I love you. You're never behind. You're never ahead. You're just where you are. I love you. I love you, love you, love you. I'll see you guys next week.